Before going into how to create your scenes, I want to talk a little bit about this option here, Are Scenes Fixed? And you're going to see this option in a couple different places, mainly on your Async Scene Loader, and Scene Generation tool. So if we look at our methods that we're using to load our scenes, application.loadLevelAdditive and application.loadLevelAdditiveAsync, these methods will load the scene, but it will not do anything with the position. So you see this root object here has a position of 0, 0, 0. This root object has 4000, 0, 0. So when those methods load the scenes, they're loaded at this default position, and that method cannot adjust that position at all. Now we can adjust the position post-load. However, in order to do that, we need to decide whether our scenes are fixed or not. So this option here, Are Scenes Fixed, it's basically asking are those objects in the scene going to have to be moved after they're loaded? So in order to determine that, we need to take a look at our world component. And we've got several options here that are going to affect whether our scenes are fixed. The first set are R layers endless, R rows endless, and R columns endless. If any of those options are enabled, then our scenes will not be fixed. We also have Keep World Centered Around Origin. If that option is enabled, again, our scenes will not be fixed. If all those options are disabled, then we need to take a look at our world origin. It's either going to be there, or if you have used this game object's position as world origin checked, you'll take a look at your position of your transform. You need to compare this world origin to the objects either in your scenes, or you can take a look at your prefabs if you generated the scenes using these prefabs. So you'll notice that our first prefab here, _1_1, has a position of 0, 0, 0. This can be considered the origin of our world grid. So we have our world grid, and this world grid is representing these slices. So this origin of this world grid is at 0, 0, 0. If the origin of our world matches the origin of our world grid, then our scenes are fixed, assuming these other options are disabled. And the reason for that is because when we go ahead and load these objects, if our origin matches our world grid's origin, then that prefab is going to be loaded at 0, 0, 0. The next one's going to be loaded at 4000, 0, 0, 0, and so on. However, if our origin is different than our world grid's origin, then let's say it's moved to the right by 4000. Well, then our first terrain is going to be loaded at 4000, and our next is going to be loaded at 8000, and so on. So when we load our scenes, for instance, this scene here will be loaded at its default position of 0, 0, 0, but then it will need to be moved to the right by 4000. So again, this Are Scenes Fixed option, if you know your scenes are fixed, i.e. that they will not need to be moved after being loaded, then you can check that option. And that's it. In the next video, we'll be going over manual scene setup.